Hello, and welcome to my channel. If you're someone who's always been the one others rely on, the one who jumps in to patch the hole, solve the problem, calm the storm, then this story is for you. Because sometimes the one who fixes everything forgets they too deserve repair. So go ahead now and let your breath start to soften. Let your shoulders begin to drop. And if part of you wants to keep being useful, even now, that's okay. You're not broken. You're just tired. Subscribe to this channel now so you can return to the stories that give back to you the way you've always given to others. So let's begin. His name was Aaron, and Aaron could fix anything. A rusted hinge, a broken sink, a marriage teetering on the edge, a co-worker in meltdown, a child afraid of the dark. He had the kind of steady presence people leaned into. "You just have a way of calming things down," they'd say, and he'd smile, that quiet smile that said, "I've got this." But no one ever asked how heavy it felt to hold so much. No one ever thought to ask if the man who fixed things might be bleeding beneath the surface. Aaron's garage was where the real therapy lived. Rolls of tools, wrenches, clamps, levels, soldering irons, each one hanging in perfect alignment. He loved the logic of it. If something was off, he could fix it, tighten it, replace it, control it. But emotions? Emotions were another story. They weren't like broken cabinet doors or leaky faucets. They didn't give warning signs in obvious ways. They didn't wait politely for his attention. They leaked quietly, and sometimes they exploded. It started with a noise in his chest. Not a physical pain, more like a creak, like an attic board settling under forgotten weight. A tightness when he sat still too long. A relentlessness he couldn't tighten with a bolt. He told himself he was fine. He was just tired. A few nights of rest and he'd be back to normal. But deep down, something was whispering louder. And one day, it came from a place he'd never expected. His daughter. She was 7, sharp-eyed, perceptive. One of those kids who seemed to see what wasn't said. "Daddy," she said, "how come you never cry?" Aaron blinked. "Because I don't need to," he said, smiling. "I'm strong. I'm your fixer." But she wasn't convinced. She tilted her head like children do when they know if they touch something true. "Mommy says even strong people need help sometimes." And just like that, a bolt came loose somewhere deep inside. That night, Aaron sat in his garage, surrounded by the things he could fix. A toaster missing a coil, a drawer that kept sticking, a friend's old guitar that needed restringing. But his hands didn't move. They just sat there, open. And in that stillness, a memory surfaced, something long buried. He remembered being 9, his own father coming home from work, face grayed with exhaustion, angry, silent, unreachable. And Aaron wanted to do something, to say the right thing, to make it better. But kids don't know how to fix adults. So he learned instead to fix everything else. And now, even decades later, he was still trying. He reached for the guitar, not to fix it, but to feel it. letting his fingers brush the strings, not turning, not adjusting, just listening. The sound was imperfect, a little flat, a little raw, but real, and it moved something inside him he didn't know had been frozen. That was the beginning. Aaron didn't stop helping people, but he started helping himself too, in smaller ways, quieter ways, like going for walks without fixing the world in his head, like journaling, messy pages, uncorrected spelling, and learning to cry again, at movies, at memories, at nothing in particular. He even tried therapy, which at first felt like handing a stranger the keys to a carefully organized toolbox. But over time, he realized fixing was never the problem. It was why he fixed. He had been trying to earn love by being useful, but now he was learning to receive love by simply being human. He taught his daughter how to use a screwdriver that spring. She taught him how to sit still with sadness. Neither was perfect, but both were healing. And sometimes, when the garage was quiet, he would run his fingers over his tools, not to use them, but to thank them, for all they helped him hold together until he was ready to fall apart, and finally come back whole. Hypnotic induction. You can go ahead now and allow yourself to stop fixing now. There's nothing you need to hold together in this moment, nothing you need to adjust, solve, or carry. This space isn't asking for anything from you. In fact, it's offering something to you, something that may have been missing for a long time. As you settle in, perhaps you can feel the weight of responsibility beginning to slide off your shoulders. Maybe like a coat you didn't realize you were still wearing. That's right. Let it fall. Let your hands unclench. Let your jaw loosen. Let your breath find its own rhythm without needing to do it right. Because here, you don't need to be useful. You just get to be you. And as you rest in this space, this soft, safe, forgotten kind of space, you might begin to notice something unusual. There is stillness that doesn't demand action. And in that stillness, a whisper. Not a to-do list, not a cry for help, just a whisper. From the part of you that got quiet so long ago, the part that always waited until the house was asleep to feel anything at all. And now, that part is waking up, not to fix, but to be held. That whisper may say something like, "I'm tired," or maybe, "I don't want to carry this anymore," or even, "Who takes care of me?" And you don't have to answer. Just listen. Because sometimes the deepest healing comes from not fixing the wound, but from sitting with it long enough to know it's real. So imagine now a room inside you, a workshop maybe, but instead of tools, it's filled with softness, a well-worn chair, a low light, maybe even music, the kind that doesn't need to be turned up to be felt. And in that room sits a version of you who isn't performing, isn't pleasing, isn't proving anything. They're just breathing. And you can join them now. Sit beside them. Feel what they feel. Maybe even say, I'm here now. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back to you. Let that part rest. Let you rest. And as you rest, allow these words to drift in like warm air. I'm allowed to pause. I'm allowed to be whole without being needed. I am loved, not for what I do, but for who I am, underneath it all. And just notice, as these truths settle into your nervous system, how your breath deepens, how your mind softens, how the quiet begins to feel less empty and more like home. There's nothing more to fix. Not right now. Not here. Just stay in this stillness as long as you like. Let it rebuild you from the inside out. So here are the key meanings of the story. Number 1, the fixer archetype, a trauma response masquerading as a strength. Aaron represents the fixer, someone who gains identity, safety, and even love by solving problems for others. This role is often born in childhood homes where emotional unpredictability trained a child to monitor, soothe, or manage the environment in order to feel secure. Meaning, being needed became a survival strategy, but over time, it becomes an emotional prison. Number 2, performance-based worth, the belief that love must be earned. Aaron's compulsion to fix stems from an unconscious belief. If I'm useful, I'm lovable. He confuses being needed with being valued. His breakdown begins when he realized no amount of external fixing will ever fill the internal void. Meaning, healing begins when we shift from earning love to allowing ourselves to receive it. Number 3, avoidance of emotional vulnerability through control. Aaron's precision with the tools symbolizes his need to control what feels chaotic, because he never learned how to safely feel. Mechanical fixes are predictable, emotions aren't. He avoids his own pain by staying busy, helpful, and capable. Meaning, true repair means entering the emotional spaces you once avoided, not to fix them, but to feel them. Number 4, the generational inheritance of suppression. The memory of Aaron's father, emotionally shut down, unreachable, reveals the generational wound. His father taught him, unintentionally, that real men stay silent, stoic, and self-reliant. Meaning, healing often requires breaking inherited patterns, especially those passed through masculine emotional conditioning. And number 5, children as mirrors and teachers. Aaron's daughter doesn't ask why he doesn't cry. She names the wound he's buried. In hypnotic storytelling, children often act as unconscious truth tellers, meaning sometimes our children or inner child shows us the part of ourselves we've neglected and invite us back to them. Number 6, the sacred pause, moving from doing to being. Aaron's transformation doesn't begin through doing more. It begins in stillness, in stopping, listening, sitting beside the mess. Meaning, the wound of the fixer is healed not by action, but by permission to rest, feel, and receive. Number 7, symbolic use of the garage and tools. The garage is both Aaron's sanctuary and his trap. It represents mastery, order, and control, but also isolation. By simply touching the guitar without fixing it, he begins his healing, being with imperfection without trying to change it. Meaning, healing starts when we shift our relationship to control from the compulsive fixing to unconscious presence. Number 8, returning to self-worth without functionality. As Aaron evolves, he begins to understand. His worth was never based on what he can fix. His value was not in his performance, but in his presence. Meaning, you are not your usefulness. You are not your utility. You are worthy, even undone. And so, if this story stirred something in you, if a part of you recognized yourself in Aaron, then perhaps it's time to rest, to remember, you are not just the fixer, you are also someone worth repairing. And if you like a personalized story made just for you, one that speaks directly to your inner world, you can email me at rhondashypnoticstories@gmail.com, and that's Rhonda without an H. And don't forget to subscribe now, so you can return each week to the stories that soften your nervous system, honor your effort, and help you come back home to yourself. And again, thank you for listening, and until next time, be well.